Welcome back, everybody. I'm going to run a really quick test here. I'm doing something a little bit different with the audio and trying to fix that echo problem. It'll probably only be in this case, but at least I'll be able to hear some game audio. So we're going to see if it echoes or not. It does not. Ooh. This puts me in an interesting situation, as I would like to hear the game audio, but I would also be hearing my voice. And for anybody that's done any sort of like streaming, video recording, anything where you have to listen to your voice back, it's not always pleasant. And it's not just me specifically, I'm pretty sure everybody feels that way. So maybe I'll just pass on that. That's totally fine. Let's hop back into the game here. For those that did not watch the first episode, it is on the archive page as well as the rest of Pokemon Versus. If you're wondering why this is called the B-Sides, you can also read the description of the first episode and find out what that is. Because, no offense, but you're probably too young to know what a cassette tape is. That's a little bit sad. At least for me, anyway. Alright, so, last time, let's see, we still have the egg. I've got two of my teammates here. I have picked out a third one for anybody who's not watched the last episode, but it's going to be a bit before we get there, but I'm hoping we can at least get to that team member today. If I go to save, we've got two badges. This is the bug gym, correct? So we've done this. Yes. We have done this. What we have not done is checked on what apricorns I have given this man. And I could go around and pick up more, but like, I'm not really... I don't need these. It's not going to be the end of the world if I don't do these as quickly as possible with all the apricorns. So it'll just be, hey, when I feel like playing, I'll just try to go remember to check this. If I either A, have fly, or B, I'm in an area to get to it relatively quickly. We'll see. Am I going to add Dratini later? Dratini to my team, you mean? Technically, I cannot do that in this particular run. I could have them as like a side character, quote unquote, but for my main team, the way this works is we've been playing through versus HeartGold, Soul Silver, and one of the caveats in that, because I have practiced the game and also played it when it originally came out, is where Icarus is playing it blind, means that one of the caveats that I have going into this is I'm only allowed to use Pokemon from Gen 2 for my main team, which is the team you see at the bottom. And before you think, wait a minute, Zubat's not a Gen 2 Pokemon. That's true, it's not. But it does evolve into a Gen 2. And remember that Crobat, which this isn't a spoiler anymore because we've gotten that far, is a Gen 2 Pokemon. So Crobat is eligible in the team. So if there's something that starts as a Gen 1 Pokemon but has its final evolution as a Gen 2, that is acceptable. Reason being, that's just going to really, really lower down my choices. I do want my choices to be, like, a little bit smaller compared to Icarus's, but I don't want it to be at, like, where I've got less than 100 options total. That's a little much. Yeah, I can catch those far-fetched for you. Seems to face the direction of the noise when you step on a branch. It does indeed. Thankfully, they're not too terribly difficult to catch. Nor is it too terribly difficult to deal with the plethora of Pokemon you usually find in here. I was going to say Oddish, but then I ran into a Zubat instead. Let's just get rid of that. I should have checked more thoroughly because I wasn't really paying attention. What level is my Zubat at right now? It is 17. Oh, well then I need to switch you into the front. Let you start working on getting some levels here. That'll be a mirror match here. So let's see, what has it got thus far? It does have Bite, it does have Wing Attack. Very good. So we at least have that going for it. Training this up both in the actual project and this one, as I well remember. It's a little bit rough starting out, but the moment that you get Bite, you don't have to keep switching out. The moment you get Wing Attack, all of a sudden, a lot of doors have opened up to make this more doable. You found a Farfetch'd. I did. I'm very excited for both myself and for you. Of course, the second one, unsurprisingly, is going to be a little bit trickier to get, but still not too terribly bad. There's a Potus. Do I have one of those on my team currently? I do not. Though I do I have a Sandshrew, and I'm pretty sure that can learn Cut. So, if I need a Paras, I'll come back for this one, but otherwise, I'll let it go. And it will let me go with some Paralysis. It will leave a parting gift. That's quite nice of it. He lied. If that had been a Paralyze Heal, that would have been very fitting. Oh, and there's the egg hatching. That will... do I want to go and... Ooh, that's a tough call. So, you can go back. In fact, it's probably going to tell me this right now. I'm willing to bet I'm going to get a call from Elm on my phone here, like, in the very near future, that he's going to be like, hey, your Pokemon hatched. And, yeah, you can go back and talk to him and show him the Togepi. The reward for doing it is an Everstone, which, if you don't know what that is, it's a hold item you can give to a Pokemon to stop it from evolving, which you could just do manually by pressing B. The point is that it's not really worth going back for that. It's just not. Like, the next best time to do that... Oh, there he is. The next best time to do that would be after you get Fly, which is well into the future for right now. Like, we don't have Surf, we don't have Fly, we don't even have Cut right now, you know? Like, it's quite a ways to go. But we'll see, we'll see. Okay, I see how to do it with this pattern now. Is Scyther Gen 2? Yes, Scyther is Gen 2. I believe both Scyther and its evolution Scizor are both. In fact, we'll be having another one come up that the beginning evolution is a Gen 1, but I'm going to be evolving it into something from Gen 2 as well. Which also goes into one of the other rules that we have, for both of us actually, which is... no duplicates. You cannot have any repeat Pokemon on your team for your final team. So if we set up a team for our battles against each other, and if we set up a battle where our teams were competing against each other, and one of us used, like, we'll go with Icarus's team, like her team that I knew of was Gyarados, Jolteon, and her starter, which was Blastoise. She cannot use those in the final battle. She can still use them in our playthrough, but she can't use them on her team to fight against me specifically, so... Since I've got an Eevee on my team, that should narrow down the typical list of choices quite a bit as to what it could possibly be. There we go. That's how we get around him. Got him. Oh, nope, we got a battle instead. Perfect. And that would, of course, narrow the choices down to Umbreon and Espeon, as Jolteon, Flareon, and Vaporeon are all Gen 1, and anything past that, of course, is Gen 4 or beyond. Alright, away with you, Oddish. No more. Small interesting tidbit for anybody that watched the Fire Red Leaf Green versus and is also watching this. An Oddish / Vileplume. I did consider using one quite a bit. Initially, we were debating on whether we wanted to allow trading outside of trading specifically to evolve. Like, can you have a version-exclusive Pokemon from Fire Red if you choose Leaf Green and vice versa? So I actually made 2 separate teams, planned them out when initially doing that. And, of course, Oddish was one of the ones that had the potential to be on that team, but I ended up not using it. What I am going to use now, though, is that Cut. HM. Contain Cut. Teach Cut to a Pokemon. Yes. Sandshrew can learn it. So we will teach it. I think I'm going to go ahead and bite the bullet and go back to Elm and show him the Togepi. This will give me the opportunity to get some Apricorns along the way. It's not the end of the world, really. They reset at every in-game day or your in-game clock, so really, if you wanted more, you could just change the clock and go get them that way. But we're relatively close right now, so I'll go ahead and do it. I'll be nice. Just this once. though I might quickly go and heal and also get some repels. As I definitely did find out when we were doing our versus playthrough, I was fighting basically every single encounter, be it a trainer or even a wild Pokemon, even if I didn't really have a good type advantage against them. And despite that, I was still underleveled for the last 2 gyms that I took on in that last episode, somehow. I'll just take 3, that should probably be pretty close to enough. Let's go heal that paralysis off my Zubat, because I feel bad. It does evolve through friendship, although it getting paralyzed is not something that deteriorates its friendship. As, obviously, with using Umbreon or Espeon for my 3rd teammate, depending on which one I decide on, or if you've watched the video of Reverses, you already know, and also having Crobat, I did obviously look up what dictates gaining or losing points in happiness for your Pokemon, and Pokemon getting status effects is not one of them. Pretty much the only battle thing, like directly related to battle, that you can lose points for is if they outright faint. But if they get hit with a status effect or if they lose health, like, no, that would make it really, really difficult to level up through friendship. Like an unreasonable amount. Because then, like, you need them to participate in battle, but you need them to, like, not get hit ever at all. Yeah, that would be tough. That'd be real tough. But for anybody wondering, the predominant things, at least that I saw on that list, the official one, that you do for HeartGold and Soul Silver is walking around with it in your party, like physically out in your party, as I am doing right now. Giving it vitamins, so, you know, your carbos, your, I'm trying to think of the other ones, the proteins, all of those types of items will help boost it. Having it fight in major battles is another one that I just now remembered. And the last one that I remember is also giving it the haircut with the Haircut Brothers that are in Goldenrod City. One of the other options as well is to give it the Soothe Bell, but we don't have access to that right now. I'm probably still going to get jumped by at least one more encounter before I get out of here, but no, we're actually good. Perfect. Ignore that center, as I do not need it right now. Of course, all of these trainers have already been fought, already been defeated. Between the Togepi and having to go back for my Eevee, it's a very weird case of this will not be the last time in this particular stream that you will be seeing me backtrack. It will probably happen at least one more time, as I'll run into Bill and he'll say, hey, you should come visit me sometime, and then I will immediately go and do exactly that. It's a yellow apricorn that definitely looks orange on the night screen, but that's okay. Alright, let's get past Violet City. Grab another apricorn. Actually, before I cut that, I think there's also one more I can... Oh no, it's further down. I was going to say, there's one more tree I can cut down to get to where Mr. Pokemon's house is, and he's got an apricorn tree that it's pretty easy to get to. But that's not quite where we are yet. That will be right here. One thing I have considered doing once I get to Goldenrod, which should almost assuredly be happening in the stream unless I just completely halt all progress to absolutely nothing, is I might, off-screen, go and consistently every single day give the haircut initially to Zubat/Golbat to get its happiness up, and then once it's gotten its happiness up to a high enough level to start doing that for Eevee as well. I'm a bit torn on which one to do, because Zubat still has to evolve into Golbat before that happiness will quote-unquote matter. Whereas Eevee, it could be technically right away. So I might do it for Eevee just to balance them out because Zubat's been in the party longer. And since it's been in the party longer, it's obviously got more happiness points with me as a result, as to the Eevee that's just starting completely clean once I get it. Alright, I probably missed a couple apricorns coming back here, but not enough to justify going all around on the hunt for them, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. The important thing here is mostly to get past having the Togepi, since I don't plan on using one on my team. So I can officially say it has served its purpose, I can put it in the PC, and then I can have that free slot open once more. I will give credit where credit is due to Gen 2, though. It is very nice that they give you an egg that hatches relatively quickly. I thought the egg hatched. Oh, yeah, I got it. Nope, I didn't want to go back in that menu. I was trying to back out. There we are. What? That Pokemon? As far as I know, there's not a Pokemon like this in Johto. Just like Mr. Pokemon was saying over the phone, this legendary Pokemon could be... never mind. Anyway, I'm sure things will be happening around you. You're making me all excited. Let me give you a present for that. Please take it. Obtain the Everstone. Oof. On a scale of 1 to 10 of oofs, that's somewhere around Roblox level of oof. Don't forget about my research. I honestly have already forgotten it, because it's not the Pokedex, because that's Oak's thing. You don't get the Pokedex from Professor Elm. You get it from Oak, so I actually don't remember what he wanted with his research. It's probably fine. I'm sure we'll figure it out somewhere along the way. The important thing now is we can put away that Togepi. It is worth noting, if you do feel like using Togepi, as I have told Icarus, the first evolution for it is a friendship/happiness evolution, so if you do plan on using it, be sure to keep it in your party. Train it up good, as you will need to, because as you can see, it starts out as level 1. Since this is around the area of Gen 4 when this was made, this means we have reached the point where... Let's see if it'll let us get away. No. We've reached the point where hatching an egg does not start it at level 5, it will start it at level 1. Get Zubat back into the front here. And we'll go ahead and hop on into the center real quick. Might as well. Oh, this will be the first Pokemon that I've stored in here. Wow, that's kind of surprising. Figured there'd be at least one more in here, but I guess not. I thought about doing the Dex again, because I got very close to finishing out the Pokedex in Fire Red Leaf Green, actually. Like, I got within very close striking distance of doing it. More so just for the sake of saying I did it. But bear in mind, if you're going for the National Dex, you can get, like, several... obviously, Pokemon from Gens 1 and 2, but also several from 3 and 4. So you're pushing, like, up to about 500 Pokemon that you can obtain. And the rewards for doing that, I think I talked about this last episode, are, and I quote, a star on your trainer card, a diploma for the Johto Dex, and a diploma for the National Dex. And that is it. You do not get anything else. No other reward. So, yeah, pride is quite the vice, and I would consider it one of my worst ones, but I don't have that much pride. So I'm not going to worry about doing that. I might do the Johto one, like, if I get really bored, but there's no way I would do the National one. That's way too tall of an order. That would be something I would do for, like, a donation goal, not something I would actually take my time to go and do just on my own time. And that's coming from somebody who went and, outside of the pictograph gallery, went back in this last week and 100% of Wind Waker. That's coming from someone that's done that, and nope. Not doing National Dex. Sorry. Oops. I always go the wrong way when I'm trying to exit to the south of Violet City. I always think it's in that first intersection, but it's not. It's down here. Hoping I can have, yeah, a little bit of luck. I do very much appreciate the running increases your chances of a wild encounter, but there's also the inverse of that, of course, which is if you're walking it. I wouldn't say it decreases your chances, but it's going to feel like less by comparison, so at the very least there's the illusion that it's lower. So in a way, if you go slow, you end up kind of going fast, or faster at least. We'll always take a good old slow and steady. It's like a good way to reward player patience, but also you don't have to do things like just spritz on a rappel every time you go everywhere, like I'm about to do now for this cave. If this one takes 2 rappels to get through, that'll be okay. Keep making mistakes like that, it will be. Yeah, let's go ahead and put on one more. Because as much as I do say, like, oh, I do need to be doing every single wild encounter, because I'm going to need that experience, if I have to choose between skipping a trainer and skipping the wild Pokemon, I would obviously choose skipping the wild ones as they give less experience. And they're probably lower leveled at this point as well. Right, that's that errand done. So now that we've taken care of that, we can actually make a progress. One singular progress. Back to the Ilex Forest. I can never remember the name of that for some reason. It's weird, like, you think I would remember this game as a whole more, with Original Silver being my first Pokemon game. But, like, I was in that weird era of, like, I did play Silver. I played it all the way through, but I only played it once all the way through on original hardware. Not because I, you know, like, believe it or not, it was weird because it wasn't like, oh, you know, the tech is updated because Gen 3's out now, or anything like that. It was because I didn't want to delete my original file because I had an attachment to all the original Pokemon that I used, which is why I still have that Typhlosion on my Battle Revolution file. He is still there. It's the original one that I had. Just traded him up through the years. But, like, as a result, I never ended up going and playing on original hardware again. And then, of course, Ruby Sapphire came out, so I started on Gen 3. And I did replay, of course, Gen 2 with this game, with HeartGold and Soul Silver. But I kind of only did one playthrough of that as well, really. So my practice file is sort of the 3rd run, and this is sort of the 5th, with the verses being the 4th. It's weird to think that I've played this 5 times, but 3 of the 5 times have all been within the last month. Also, I am very quickly going to take a 30-second pause to go and turn off an alarm on my phone that I can hear in the other room that I forgot to turn off. Alright, we're back. I don't know why I had an alarm set for, like, I'm going to assume probably somewhere between 10:30 and 11 o'clock at night. Because that's not even a work alarm. For those that don't know, I work overnight, but, like, my shift would normally start at 10. I'm not on today, thankfully. So, I'm not sure why there would be an alarm set for specifically that time. Very bizarre. Oh, I'm not looking forward to next week, though. Oof. We had one person that took the week off, which is fine, but as is tradition, our scheduler, who is also part of our overnight team, was like, oh, I want a week off. And then they looked at their vacation hours and went, oh, I don't have any vacation hours. I'll just put myself on call for the entire week, because people are really good about not calling in and just take a week off that way. So we've got 2 people that have taken a week off. I may or may not poke around with other people and be like, we should all individually call in one day. Just like Monday you call in, Tuesday I'll call in, Wednesday he'll call in, and just, you know, that way everybody actually gets the days off that they're supposed to instead of, you know, 1. So I think I'm getting either 1 off and I'm on call for that, or 2 days off and I'm on call for one of them. And it's just like, man, like, even if she only had 3 days to work, that could still give everybody 1 additional day. But nope, that's too much, Bob Barker. Not that my workplace will ever watch these, so I have no worry about saying this. I don't think she's going to make it to, like, February or March of next year in this position. She's repeating the exact same... I use this term loosely because I'm not sure if they're mistakes if you're doing them intentionally, but she's making the exact same mistakes that her previous scheduler did. But that said, in order to finally get him out of there, he had to have done something very, very bad. We're talking extreme... Like, whatever you think the worst thing is, it's worse than that. Like, if you're thinking, like, oh, did he get violent with somebody? It's worse. It's literally worse than that. And if it took, like, that much, and multiple people that, like, actively saw him doing it and being like, no, you need to pull the tapes, you need to look at this footage and see what happened, and management just kept saying, no, it's fine, we're not worried about it. And then finally, eventually they did, and it was like, oh crap, we should have been listening to you. Yeah, they should have. They probably have gotten amnesia in the last year, as they usually do. But even then, outside of, like, that one particular incident, she's making the exact same mistakes of, like, basically just quote-unquote putting herself on call and then not responding to being on call so that she just gets, like, multiple days off in a row while everybody else has to work for, like, actual weeks on end with no break. All your favorite stuff, really. Changing the schedule without telling people last minute, changing procedures last minute without telling people... Pretty much everything else that was, like, the reasons that we wrote down of, like, this is why this person needs to not be in this position. She has done all of them now except for that last one, so I wouldn't give her another year in that position personally. I think she'll be gone by then. At the very least, demoted. I'm going to switch here because I definitely cannot take another hit from that. Interesting, you decided on tackle while my Zubat was still out. I would have thought you would have gone for a Thundershock a second time. But I guess not. Why does it end this way? You know, my man, I've been asking myself that for years. I've also been asking why my mom keeps spending my money, but here she is, doing just that. It's fine. It is always interesting to see what they give you, but unfortunately it'll probably just be berries. That's most of the time that's what it is. Much health does it? Yeah, that'll probably be okay for her right now. I will do my best to remember that I've got a female Zubat here and not a male one, but I might get them changed, and no, it is not in the case of being offensive. Part of it is just, unfortunately, Pokemon tend to have that look about them, whether they're more female or male, and a bat typically is going to look more male. The other problem is, on my main file in Versus, my Zubat is a male, so that's also going to throw me off. Okay, this should be a much easier fight if you're going to be sending out grass types. Yeah, bring them on! Bring out the grass types. I can wing attack those. At some point I will need to poke around and see what I can do in terms of poison moves for Zubat. Both what it gets naturally through leveling up and also what it can learn through HMs. Or TMs, rather, not HMs. I mean, really both, but I don't think there's any multiple use abilities like that that are poison. I don't think there ever has been, actually. Most of them are normal or water, sometimes fighting, and then of course fly. Of course you can have my number. I will be sure to not respond to any of your calls ever. It'll be great. I'm sure that that would technically be one way that I could have gotten more experience prior to those gyms of, like, every time somebody called and was like, hey, I'm itching for another battle, I could have gone back and fought them, but, like, if I've got a team that are, like, mid-30s and they've leveled up their Pokemon from level 10 to level 15, that experience ultimately is probably not going to make a difference. At least as they are right now, they're giving a decent amount of experience, but even looking at them now, we're looking at half of my level, essentially. If not for my Zubat, then definitely for my Quilava, so... But hey, we take what we can get. And we'll also be taking that level. They're better trainers. Yep, there are better trainers. Sure, we can have all the battles, he said, also lying through his teeth. I should look really quickly. What natures do I have for my specific team here? Zubat's got Sassy. I think that's just a no change in percentages going up and down. Highly Persistent probably is a defensive stat for its highest one. Again, highly persistent. Lonely nature. That I don't remember. I probably looked it up in episode 1 and forgot. But it's fine. Because I'm having to play a second file, because the Versus is done on actual hardware for Icarus, it's actually on the same DS that I'm playing now on my DS capture board. But because that I have to play on emulator, both to have all 4 screens working and also because I don't have a second capture board, it means I have to play a second file, so obviously I can't recreate the IVs and EVs perfectly on my team. So that means that both Icarus and I are allowed to, if we have something that we're outright saying, I will be using this on my team, so if it's a Pikachu, you do have to use a Pikachu on your team, but it doesn't have to be the specific Pikachu you have at that exact moment. It can be any of them, so... Of course I will be breeding for more effective natures and IVs and EVs for all that. I did do that for my Fire Red team. My Fire Red team is actually completely and totally done. I talked about it a little bit without spoiling too much in the last episode of Versus, the 7-hour one. I think I've got a pretty good team there. I'm very confident in them. I'm a little, I wouldn't say nervous about Team 2, but it's going to be a very different style of gameplay compared to my team from Gen 1. But I think that's a good thing because even looking ahead without officially making any plans, I also think that Team 3 is going to be different from 2 and 1, and I think 4 is going to be different from Teams 1, 2, and 3. I think they're all going to play not completely opposite each other, but definitely differently enough to where they're not going to feel too terribly similar. And for that, I'm actually super excited. It'll be interesting to, like, have Battle Revolution be a game that I can go in with confident, like, true blue confidence, like, this is a team that is built to do as well as it possibly can competitively, as opposed to, like, yes, this team is up to level 100, but I don't really know exactly what I'm doing, I just have a vague idea of what I'm doing. It's Battle Revolution, for those that have not played it, which is Pokemon Stadium for the Wii, it's not too bad starting out if you're using a proper team. If you have to use the rentals, it can be a bit tough, but once you get towards the end, yeah, it definitely starts putting some pressure on you to win those later ones. It can get pretty rough. And then, of course, there's some arenas where you don't get to use your team at all, and those just suck. Looking at you, Sunset Stadium. Alright, now that we've taken care of the cops who only attack you in the middle of the night. Yeah, we could probably handle... Well, yeah, because Goldenrod City's right there. I thought there was a bit more to this route, but nope. That's a different route. So this should be our last trainer beforehand. So that's Psyduck. Tragically, I don't think... Yeah. Because you'd think Psyduck, you know, Psychic Duck, you're like, oh, part Psychic, cool, I'll use Dark on it. No, it's pure water. Can learn psychic moves, but not part psychic. Yeah, it's a bit of a shame, but what are you gonna do, right? Sure, we can exchange numbers. Since Icarus used one, at least not officially on her team, but used it for this upcoming gym, I would like to point out, since this is a normal gym, it's Whitney and her Miltank who have lived in infamy for being incredibly ridiculously annoying for a lot of people. If you are having trouble with that, you can catch a Drowsy in this patch of grass that I was just in, and there is a person inside of this tower right here, which is the department store, that you can trade that Drowsy for a Machop, which is a fighting type, so you'll get the type effectiveness. It's not one in particular that I'm going to use, but I did want to make note of, like, hey, if you're struggling, this is a good thing to pick up. So I did mention it for the flying gym. If you're having problems with Faulkner, then Geodude's not a bad choice, because it will do very well defensively against them, and also it can learn some rock moves to do that super effective damage. As for Bugsy, it's a bug-type gym. You'll be fine. This will be the house that we need to come back to later, but we cannot right now. Once we get to Ekritique, then we can handle that. We do have a couple more fights, so let's go ahead and hop on in here. As this is where we will go to be getting the quote-unquote haircuts. But I guess later that became massage, right? I think around Black and White is like, yeah, we'll massage your Pokemon, which kind of works better as a whole because, like, some Pokemon just don't have hair, so how could they get a haircut? Or a fur cut, or whatever you want to call it. There is nothing for them to cut, so, yeah. Yeah, booted out of the game corner. I kept winning at the new coin game. They thought I was cheating. Well, were you cheating? This should be stuff that largely my Zubat is able to take care of without much difficulty. The only thing in here that could pose an issue would be the Magnemites, but even then I can just switch into Quilava and they will very quickly not become a problem. But I am going to try to relatively keep my team as balanced level-wise, or as equal level-wise as I can. Sometimes, of course, I'll just be in areas where Quilava is just simply not viable, or one of them is simply not viable, and that will, of course, make it an issue. It did in the last episode, that's for sure, because I got to a large surfing route where I just couldn't use Quilava, and then I got to the fighting gym. And I wanted to use Quilava over Zubat, even though it had Wing Attack, just because it was that far behind, and I knew after I was done with that gym, I was going to be going directly to the Steel Gym, where I definitely would want Quilava, so it presented an interesting problem there. Zubat became confused. It's okay, Zubat. We're all a little confused. It's just part of life. You get used to it, really, is what I'm saying. Keep using that cut. Zubat snapped out of confusion. Very nice. That is another level for you. We're nearly to Golbat with you. Aye. True words were never spoken. Pure poetry, my guy. Oh, yeah, no, I don't want that. Yeah, those are healing items you can get for cheaper, but they will make your Pokemon dislike you, and I don't want that. Even if I had a Pokemon that the happiness, like, didn't matter in the least, not for their moveset, not for their evolution, I still just don't like using those. I'm just not a big fan, personally. It's like, that's the whole thing, right? Like, you want your team to like you, at least to some degree. That's why I always think that, oh, I can't remember the name of it. Frustration, I think, it's the opposite of return, of the normal move that the more your Pokemon likes you, the more powerful it is. That's why frustration is such an interesting concept of, like, it's very strong, especially if it's got the same type attack bonus on it. But trying to keep your Pokemon actively hating you is both a moral difficulty and an actual gameplay difficulty as well, as simply having it in your party in most games will at least give it a tiny amount to where it will like you just as time goes on. You'd probably have to keep healing it with the bitter herbs instead of using traditional potions or letting it get knocked out every now and again. I don't think I'm going to switch, actually. I probably could take out that Voltorb with Zubat, but why run the risk? It's totally fine if Quilava gets a little bit of experience here. Alright, what do we got for this last trainer? I think you have some... I mean, technically, yes. The starters are considered rare, seeing as it is basically impossible in most games. Not all, but most games to find them in the wild. Alright, good start. Very good start. Oh, you're just gonna send another one. Okay. I was expecting a different Pokemon. I don't know why, but I was. But hey, we'll take some super effective damage. I'm down. Very nice. So yeah, if you see one of these two people of like, I run the Pokemon Salon, I'm the older and better of the two haircut brothers, I make your Pokemon beautiful, give it a look, you become friendlier, more beautiful, would you like me to do that? No, I'm gonna save that for the Eevee. So, as he mentioned, there's the more expensive one and then there's the cheaper one. You would think the obvious of the more expensive one makes them like you more and the cheaper one makes them like you. While it does make them like you, it's not quite as much. That is true, but there's always a small chance, apparently, at least according to the main wiki page that I checked, that they'll actually like you more than the more expensive one every now and again. I mean, either way, you would still want to use them, so it's just that the older and better one is more consistent, I suppose. Actually, you know what? Now that I look at the game clock, if it's going to be changing over at midnight, I probably am okay to just go ahead and do this now. So I think I will go ahead and do it now. I don't think I will have Eevee by the time that I hit midnight over here, personally, which is in about 50 minutes. I could possibly, but I don't necessarily think it's a guarantee. So, we'll go ahead and do it. You should work on Zubat. That's how you know it's beautiful. The whole screen just went white. Zubat looks delighted. Good. Seems to want to play. Aww. I know Zubat as a whole gets a bad rap, and I do think some of that is actually warranted, just given on how often you find it in caves. But it's a shame that, like, bats as a whole get a bad rap. It really is. Alright, other stuff we can do in town. You can check your Pokemon's happiness here with this lady right here, just depending on who's in front. It's friendly toward you. It looks sort of happy. Alright, we're making good progress then. You can also go here and grab a bike. Which I don't think you ever need this, at least in the concept of you don't need it to get through the main story or anything. I'm sure there's some side areas you probably do need this, but for getting through the main game, as far as I remember, I don't think you do. But we'll hang on to it. I'll also check out the department store, see if it's got anything I want. I definitely do want to buy some healing items for sure. Oh, I just saw that dude down there right as I went up the staircase. I'll get him on the way back down. I do need to buy some of these. Do you have any revives on me? I've got one. Yeah, I should probably get at least a few more. keeping all these up to date. I try to keep 3 of at least the ones that frequently occur, which is namely paralysis, poison, and sleep. Burn and frozen don't really happen that often, especially not frozen, but that's what the full heals are for, worst case scenario. I'll buy 1 Ultra Ball just on the off chance we find, like, a shiny or something super rare, but otherwise I'm not going to worry about it. I'm also going to check my bag and see if there's anything here, yes, that I don't need. I do not care about these X items. I've never been a proponent of them. I understand they have their place in battle. They are not my personal playstyle. I've tried using them before. It's just not for me. I'll be sure to point out the guy that can trade you the Drowsy for the Machop once we find him. You've got... oh, the X moves. Nice. Bye. Thank you and come again. Yeah, I will be sure to not do that. I will not be doing that unless I forget what you're selling and then do the exact same thing I just did. Those are all the stat boosting items, which, while they're good, they're expensive, of course. There's this guy looking off to the side here. Machoke, Kadabra, Haunter, and Graveler. Or there are others, too. There are others. But he listed all of the ones in Gen 1. Not the ones for Gen 2, so you gotta keep guessing. TM Corner, not really interested in anything that I can afford anyway. The better ones, of course, are more expensive. There's the guy that will trade, if you need him to. What's on the top floor here? That's right. The daily drawing. Try it for 300. We have wonderful prizes. Would you like to try it? Sure. Wow, you got yourself the number 2 prize. Obtain the timer ball. I would have preferred the quick ball, but I'll take a timer ball. Oh, and it shows you right here. TM, timer ball, or 3 berry. Well, depending on what that TM is, I might have preferred that, but can't say for sure. I could also visit the vending machines there and get things like the soda pop and whatnot, but I don't have quite enough health on my team to worry about that. So we're going to go down to the basement really quickly, as there's a couple items we can pick up there. This is only accessible through the elevator for the time being. There is another way to get into here, but it's not until... oh gosh, I don't even, like several badges down the line. But you can get another Ultra Ball here. So we got a backup in case things don't quite work out with the first one. Ether, nice. I do enjoy getting those and never using them. I do try to... I've tried to get better about using those from time to time, in particular when I'm in an area where I know I'm not close to anything going forward or backwards in terms of healing. Of just saying, you know what, let's just use an Ether. It's fine. Like, I know that there's technically a finite amount of them and all that, but, you know. If you never use them, then they're even more useless, right? You just pick them up for nothing. Alright, that's everything I wanted to grab except for, what do you have for me? The Rindo berries, or the Rindo, I'm not sure what that is. Alright, just the one. Alright, let's get out of here. Alright, so that's the department store. Have I healed? It looks like I've healed. That's the department store, the bike shop. There is the game corner here, but I don't really care about it. There's the name raider, which I don't care about, and then there's the area we actually have to go to, which is the Goldenrod radio tower. Alright, let's do it. Let's see if I remember this correctly. The first question, can you check the time out for Pokegear? Yes. I do that pretty frequently. Nidorina can only be female. Yes, that is true. Kurt, the Pokeball creator uses apricots as ingredients. No, he uses apricorns, not apricots. It's impossible to use a team on Magikarp. True? Yes, it can only learn 3 moves, Splash, Tackle, and Flail, none of which are compatible through TM. For us Oak's popular show, the Pokemon Talk, is he on with Marie? No, he is not. There we go. We did it for the radio card. That's not actually why we did it. We did it because the gym leader is here and we needed her to go back to her gym. Alright, now that that's been taken care of, we can actually go handle the gym. Zubat's still, yeah, still one level behind, so we'll keep Zubat in the lead for now. Quilava will be doing the bulk of the heavy lifting in the gym battle itself. And the primary reason for that, unfortunately, is because of that happiness evolution. Since Quilava doesn't need the happiness, I can afford to let it faint more than I can for Zubat. I'm going to ideally not have that happen at all, but of course, there are no guarantees. It would be nice to get Zubat to Golbat, so if I feel like it's gotten pretty close after the gym trainers here, I might go ahead and get that last level off of it, using some wild Pokemon, just to have that little additional stat boost. And if all the trainers have 3 Pokemon here, we would be pretty decently close, I think. Only 3, alright, wow. I'm surprised. Usually moves that hit 2 to 5 times will hit 5 times for you and 2 times when you're using it against your opponents. Yeah, that is not a very high speed stat for a Zubat, tied with attack. That, however, even though I don't use this often, would be very nice to have. I will be getting rid of Leech Life for that. If you're saying no, you should have gotten rid of Astonish, Astonish is not going to last either, I can almost assure you. Something will come down the line to get rid of that. Oh, I went the wrong way. Well, I went the right way, but it's not the way that I meant to go. I meant to go fight that trainer first. The 3D in this room in particular is a little bit weird. Like, there's spots where it looks like you can go physically that you can't, and vice versa. So now, a little kitty cat. Ooh, that did a lot. Switch. I don't want to switch, but I'm going to switch. I think it is worth the potion to get that. Being that little bit closer to level, I do think it's worth it, unfortunately. Plus, before I go and fight Whitney, I am going to go back and heal, and I'm probably actually going to also pull... yeah, I think I will probably catch a Drowsy. Whether I trade it or not doesn't really matter, but I will probably catch a Drowsy and maybe catch a second Drowsy and trade it, just to have a full team to have those extra hits for other Pokemon to take if I need to heal or revive my main 2. Then I could use them as shields. I know that's not very nice, but you know what? Sometimes it's gotta be done. That is a bit weird that Meowth used, the first one used Slash, and that didn't get a critical even though it has a high crit rate, and then Scratch did get a critical. Oh well. I'll just talk to you from here. I have cute and strong Pokemon. Fun fact, if you were in a later gen, then you couldn't be in this gym with these Pokemon, because they aren't considered normal types anymore. Unless they're normal fairy, but I think Jigglypuff's just fairy. Pretty sure. Now we get the joys of, do I wing attack or do I bite? Because wing attack's going to get the stab bonus, but bite's got the flinch chance. And Ultimately, it's probably wing attack most of those times because the stab bonus will kick in. The bite is a chance for flinch to kick in. Yeah, we can definitely get Zubat to level 22 for sure. Even if it's not on this fight, on the next trainer, we definitely can. Yeah, I'm gonna do the little baby thing. I'm gonna go back and heal. I already used one potion up. I don't want to use another if Whitney gives me trouble. By sending some of your money to Mom, you do kind of run... I wouldn't say even necessarily running low. Speaking of giving money to my mom, should just spend it. Regardless, it does mean that, like, semi-early, like, for a little while, I wouldn't say money is super tight, but you definitely have to watch it a little bit. But as time goes on, probably, like, 2 gyms from now, it will be an afterthought. And maybe part of that was also due to the fact that both on my practice file and on the Versus file, we didn't really use... I mean, we still aren't. We still haven't used... Yeah, I was thinking about retracting that, but no, we really haven't used that many items like potions and whatnot in the field, other than the ones we found. Most of the time, we just go back to heal and go to an actual center and do it for free. Obtain a repel. Alright, well, that's something, I guess. But, like, little things like that of, like, oh, I need to use a repel, but I don't want to buy it, but I did find one, so I'll just use the one that I found. Alright, let's go get that last trainer taken care of. Hi! Just because I don't look tough? Well, I don't know. What do you look like? Let's see your spray. Do you not look tough? You look fine. More importantly, do you give me enough experience to get to the next level? That's what I'm more concerned about. There's one nasty-ass Snubble. It's licking, it's biting, it's... Ugh. Get that thing out of here. And good news, that's level 22, which means Zubat is evolving. Your Zubat evolved into Golbat. And hopefully decently soon here, we'll be evolving into a Crobat. Take a look here. Yeah, got like mid-40s across the board for pretty much every non-HP stat here. Pretty even, pretty even. I probably will start with Golbat, but I do want to give myself the best chances going forward, so one more time, let's go heal. Not like this is a proper Let's Play or walkthrough or anything, but it is worth noting if you are worried about having a Pokemon faint and potentially losing friendship points, happiness points, whichever you want to call them. You could always just, like, save right before the gym fight, and if they faint, then just start it over. Which is probably what I'll do, but I'm hopeful that it won't, that it won't come to that. I would like to just be able to defeat Whitney, but I know she's one of the more difficult gyms for my specific team setup. That was one of the things I definitely appreciated while going through the Versus project. Again, we're not done with it by any stretch. At this point in time, Icarus has, I think, 4 badges. I think she just got her 4th badge. And I just got my 7th. But despite that, like, most of the gyms, with the exception of the first 2, so from basically this gym on, I felt like I was either didn't have like a good type, Pokemon type to deal with it, or that I was potentially slightly under-leveled, so they all felt like they would be a challenge for sure. Oh right, I did say I was going to catch the Drowsies and whatnot. I should probably do that. Do I have... I do have Pokemon. The real question is, do I have Pokeballs in my bag besides those Ultra Balls that I got? I do. Okay. Let's go do that real fast. Again, just specifically to have that extra couple hits. In an ideal world, I wouldn't need them, but anybody that knows about Whitney and Miltank in particular knows that it can be a bit of an uphill climb. I do have a strategy for dealing with those that I used in the Versus, and it worked pretty well, but there's always the chance that it won't work necessarily quite as well as it did last time. I don't know why I'm not running. I'm actively looking for one of these, so I should be running. There we go. Now, hopefully, I will not be too strong to accidentally kill this. That should probably work fine. Alright, there's one. Now let's see if we can find a second one. I did mention this to Icarus as well, since she actually did trade for the Machop. But it is worth noting that if you are looking to do a trade and you're like, I want the Pokemon I'm trading to be a specific level, the one that I'm getting, you will get the same level that you gave away. So if you gave away a level 10, like so, then you would get a level 10 in return. If you gave away a 15, you'd get a 15. You get the idea. Alright. Ah, it actually did break free. I figured after I said on that first one this should be a pretty good position to catch it, that it wasn't going to catch it, and then it did. So I guess it's not too much of a surprise that it didn't work out that time. Seeing the friend balls in the list kind of reminds me it's a little bit of a shame that, like, the team of 3 that I'm calling, 2 of these evolved through happiness. One of them, unless I wanted to wait, which I didn't really, I wanted to get it as soon as I possibly could. I did not have the ability to make the apricots, or I didn't have the ability to trade in the apricots yet for the special Pokeballs, like the friend ball. So I couldn't have caught it at that point. And of course the Eevee is just outright given to you, so you don't catch the Eevee, it's just given to you in a regular Pokeball, so you can't use that one either. We hope to see you again. Well, thank you, I appreciate that. Even though you said please come back at any time. I'm used to we hope to see you again from Gen 3, because Gen 3 is the one I've played the most times over, for sure. I think you were on the 4th floor. He says with a very small amount of confidence. Did I choose correctly? No. It was on 5. The person I talked to was on 4. You have a Drowsy? Want to trade it from my Machop? Sure. Enjoy it. I don't know why you couldn't be bothered to just walk right outside your town and go get one, but At least it wasn't something that was like, hey, do you have this Pokemon that you're not going to see for like another, I don't know, 5 towns or something? I get they want to give you the Machop, but they could have been like, I don't know, pick something that's slightly farther away. Maybe slightly harder to obtain. You have a Spinarak, there you go. You have a Geodude, something in the cave that's a little bit farther away. Oh well. It's fine. They wanted it to be easy to access in case you needed it. You did. You got a Drowsy. I hope you enjoy it. You will definitely enjoy it more than I will, because I don't think I've ever used a Drowsy. I think if I'm going for a Psychic type, it's probably the Abra line, it's probably the Gardevoir line, it's probably Espeon. It's not Drowsy. It's just not happening. I can think of quite a few other Psychic types I would choose above that one. Alright, so we've got a full team here. I'll take that Macho Brace off of you, by the way. That will definitely come in handy later on when I'm doing the EV training, for sure. Well, we've got a full team, so we've got those extra hits available. How many potions do I have? Should I have bought more? Oh, yeah, I got plenty. I thought I had like 4 for some reason. 9 that should be plenty. Let's quit stalling and actually go fight the gym. But first, some stalling. No, we're just gonna save. Okay. Was into Pokemon, so I got into it too. I feel like if you live in a world with Pokemon, like, it's not really a fad, right? Like, that sounds like, man, I got into having lunch because other people liked having lunch. Like, you'd just be around it all the time. Trust me, there are plenty of people that wish we lived in the world of Pokemon, myself included. It would be nice to have them around. Yeah, by all means, use up that Super Potion on your weaker members. Miltank's already got Milk Drink to restore its health that way. I don't need it on top of that, also having the Super Potion. Nope, no recycling for you, my man. No recycling for you. Alright, hopefully that extra level will help out a tiny bit. I got some good level up points there. Alright, so strategy for Miltank. Obviously, the big thing that everybody knows Miltank for is its ability to start using Rollout and get some insane damage on you. Also uses Attract to mess you up that way. My strategy primarily is going to be focusing on as much as I can before I lose Quilava. Oh, and the flinch too, that's nice. What's also nice though is just undoing all that damage that you just did, so we're going to do that. But the idea is to just keep smoke screening this thing until its accuracy cannot go lower, which will of course minimize its ability to A, use Rollout effectively, and B, damage Golbat if I do need to send in Golbat. So that dropped its accuracy twice. And if the attack misses, as one would expect, then that means that, well, rolling damage, for lack of a better term, that's not actually what it is, but the damage increase of it going from 20 to 40 and going up like that will be reset back to 20 because its attack missed. If you are not the type to use moves like that, like myself, really Ice Ball was the only one that I ever used, and that was on a run where I started the game with a Spheal on a randomizer. It's one of those moves that if you go to fight, instead of being on this menu right here where you choose what attack you want to use, if you're using one of those ones that keeps going over and over, you'll just hit fight, and then it will just, you know, it'll continue the continue the attack, you won't get that option. But if you miss, then it will, of course, bring that menu back up. I think that's as much as we can do. I'm going to keep checking here to be absolutely sure. Okay, good. Accuracy will not go lower, so at this point we are basically free to just keep attacking, and if I lose Quilava, then I lose Quilava. And the upside to having a female Zubat is the problem of the attract thing won't be in play anymore, so they'll have a rollout with low accuracy and Milk Drink to work with. Everything else will not be effective. Going for one more hit here. Oh, okay. Try to go in for 2 more hits here. Maybe just straight up win. No, not quite. That would have been funny, though. Yeah, there it is. I stayed alive for about 4 turns longer than I expected to with Quilava there just then. But thank you, Quilava. You've done your job exceptionally well. I appreciate it. Could also use Confuse Ray, but I feel like the lowered accuracy will hopefully be enough. I say that, and then she gets it twice in a row. Just because Quilava fainted doesn't mean all of a sudden that those stat reductions that you got are suddenly gone. They're still there. They are still there. Alright, well, the game doesn't seem to think that they're still there, so I'm just going to trade out so that it will ruin its plans. Oh, now all of a sudden it missed. I see how it is. There we go. Alright. Let's try that one more time without the assist of suddenly magically being able to hit all of your attacks, despite the fact that your accuracy was lowered 6 times. There we go. That is 3 gems down. We don't get a badge until we leave, and then they're like, yeah, it's fine, she'll stop. She always cries when she loses. I do appreciate that, like, even though she was upset, the minute you're like, hey, can I have that badge, though? Like, she does fork it over. Considering there are many other gyms, up to and including another gym in this game, where they're like, I know that you beat me, but you know what? That's not good enough for a badge. And it's like, no, literally the league rules say that that is good enough for a badge. That's exactly what it means. Thankfully, in the case of this game with that gym, it's not too terribly hard to do the remaining thing it asks you. But there we go. We have defeated Whitney and her almighty Miltank. Before I continue on, let's grab that watering can, because I don't want to forget that. I like how she implies there that, like, if you have not gotten the 3rd gym badge, then you may not be able to use a watering can / spray bottle correctly. Like, those 2 things are not correlated at all. Like, you could be the best Pokemon trainer in the entire world and not know how to use a spray bottle or how to garden or anything like that. And vice versa, you could have, like, never touched a Pokeball and be a phenomenal gardener. Very, very, very weird. Kind of funny, but still weird. Yeah, you did a good job out there, buddy. keep Golbat out in the front, but it is no disrespect to you. It is only the happiness evolution that is required. Should Golbat evolve into Crobat before I get that Eevee, I promise I will put Wild back out in the front for the Overworld sprite moving around and whatnot. And ideally, once both of them are evolved, I would just keep Wild out in the front at all times, just because he's my favorite, unless I was specifically training to get another Pokemon to catch up in levels. But I feel like by the point I've gotten both the Evolution in question and also Crobat, they're probably going to be relatively the same level. Definitely Crobat and either Quilava or Typhlosion would be at that point. Even though I've picked out my team, I have not fully picked out what moves I'm going to use for them, but I definitely know that one of the things I need to be careful with Quilava is making sure it's got more than normal and fire for its moves. If nothing else, I'm pretty sure that it is compatible with both Dig and Earthquake, so it's got some ground moves it can learn, which would definitely be helpful. And I think even in Gen 4, I think we're still at the point where Earthquake is pretty freaking busted, so... It's not as busted as it used to be, but it's still pretty busted. Nope, I'm not going to switch. I'll probably alternate in this area for the time being. If Golbat gains a level and gets to 23, which it probably will right here. Nope, not quite. But once it gains a level in this next fight and gets to 23, then I'll swap out for putting Quilava in the front and keeping Quilava there until it gets to 23. Yep, it's one of them there Pikas. There you go, you can enjoy that Astonish. We still get to see some use before it will eventually get removed in favor of something else that will come up, I'm sure. What it will be, I don't remember, but it will eventually go. Yeah, admittedly, I don't ever remember using the radio function in this game. Like, not even on initial release, I don't ever remember doing that. I know there's, like, a thing in the radio tower, because I did go and talk to them both in my practice file, and I think in the actual one, too, that there's, like, a little point system thing you can get for prizes, but I don't remember the prizes being anything worthwhile, so... It's not that big a deal. I do like the idea, though. For, like, the world-building part, I love the idea of, like, having a sort of, like, podcast or talk show or, like, any sort of thing where people that all they need is a radio and they can tune in to listen to whoever and, like, learn more about Pokemon while they're on their adventures training. That's a super cool idea. It really encapsulates that era of... I mean, I guess at this point, you would have, like, iPhones and stuff, early iPhones, but it definitely encapsulates the area of, like, not everybody has a smartphone or iPhone or whatever that has, like, not just call and text, but it's got, like, internet, it's got all these apps, it's, you know, it's got everything. You can go onto Discord or Twitter or wherever and look up any info you want because you've got Google and all that. Of like you're gonna go through not knowing everything, and sometimes you might be able to pick up some sort of useful information by just tuning into the radio. It's kind of got that, like, even though it's not nostalgic to me because I'm not quite that old, it does have that nostalgic feel to it. This is the weird part about being in the area of millennials. You're in a really weird area where, like, you're just old enough to not, like, you're just old enough to remember that the information era, like, where internet was actually starting to become a thing, you remember that before it existed, which is the last generation that will remember before that existed. And even if you were born after the internet existed, it at the very least wasn't popularized. I grew up in a house, like many people, where if you had any computers in the house, you had one, and it was used for work, probably by your dad. It was not, everybody owned their own computer. You might be lucky and have a family computer, and if you had games on it, it was probably the ones that came with the PC. It was probably Solitaire, Mahjong, all that stuff. So it is nice that it kind of has that, like, feel to it of not all that data is just available information-wise, and, you know, you're... That's one of the things I actually liked about the anime, both for the movies and for the actual show, is, like, there are just times where you're just, like, out there camping, just with your Pokemon. I feel like if I had the option to, like, go camping and had Pokemon that were with me, I would probably have enjoyed it a lot more. It's also likely one of those things I would appreciate more now than I did back then, because unsurprisingly, since I'm streaming a video game and it's almost midnight right now, I was not a very outdoorsy person. Like, I was some, but definitely more of an indoors person as a whole, and as I got older, only more so. Regardless, though, I definitely would... Like, if someone was like, yeah, you could pick, like, 3 of your favorite Pokemon of all time, or, like, whatever Pokemon you wanted, and you could just, like, take a weekend off of work or whatever, just, like, go to the store, buy whatever you need, like, it's on us, and you could just go camping for a week, like, done. Absolutely. No, don't miss. There we go. Man, he had you on the ropes, and he just threw it away. Maybe it's because he scorched the tip of his nose, but yeah, he could have had... He had you dead to rights there, and did not kill you for some reason. I'll stop breathing fire when we're talking on the phone. I feel like the worst that's going to do is put your phone in jeopardy, not my physical person, so... If you want to breathe fire while you're talking on the phone, you have at, my dude. Danger lurks in the night. Thank you, Will Robinson. I appreciate that. And I think Saturday might be one of the days that the bug catching contest is going on, so I might give that an attempt, if possible. I think one of the days is either Saturday or Sunday, so if it's Saturday, I need to do it the next couple minutes, and if it's Sunday, I need to wait for a few minutes. I think it's Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. I'm pretty sure. We'll see. Either way, there is a Soothe Bell. And also, I think, fitting list, since we were talking about Dig earlier, the TM for Dig is in there as well. So either way, I do want to go in there real quick. Sorry. Today's Saturday. That means bug catching. It is on today. All right. Would you like to give it a try? No, I wouldn't like to give it a try. I'd like to save first, even though it ultimately probably will not matter, because I get 20 minutes to do this. So I'm basically only going to get one shot. But I gotta try. Do I need to leave and re-enter, or is it just, like, being like, no, I don't want to do this right at this exact moment? Okay, last Pokemon you caught. Do I just... Alright. I guess I don't get to do it. Well, it's not that big a deal, but it's... Like, surely they would have accounted for the fact of, like, No, I don't want to do it right this second. Like, I want to put a different Pokemon in my lead so that I'm not using something that's super effective. Oh, well. I do want to get that Soothe Bell before I do anything else here, so I'm going to do that first. Oh, that's a spot we can climb much later. And there you go. You can enjoy that. I do like to think of that as like a little Christmas bell that just kind of jingles or makes like some sort of noise that for each Pokemon they specifically really like it for whatever reason. Yep, there's Dig. That looks to be all that's over here. Ah, the good old Pokewalker. I probably have that somewhere in storage. I did have the copy of Soul Silver that Icarus is playing on is my original copy of Soul Silver. I did have it. I don't know if I have the box anymore, like the proper big box. The plastic like container that the cartridge is in, that I still have for sure. I'm looking at it right now. But the Pokewalker I'm not 100% sure on. I would definitely be going through a lot of my old stuff to see if I still had it. But I probably do. So yeah, I did not go and fight these trainers in our verses. I just went and did the contest, I think. So do note, there are trainers there. You should go fight them. Or at least get rid of that paralysis. Dude, the first step, really, I was trying to get that guy, see if he was a trainer. But I get interrupted by a Hoot of all things. Well, at least that'll be easy to get rid of. Away with you. I did use one in my first playthrough of Silver. I mean, it was like, I played it at night, so this is an interesting story that I think I've retold this a couple times, but it's been a hot minute since I have. As I mentioned, my first game that I ever played, at least for video game, I'm not going to count like a computer game like Mahjong or whatever, but for an actual, proper game, was Pokemon Silver. But this was back in the day where I was not allowed to have I was going to say a game console, but a handheld gaming system, anything video game related, I was not allowed to own it. Like, playing in an arcade, sure, fine, you're only doing that for a limited amount of time, but you can't, quote-unquote, take it home with you. So, I had a friend that lent me their copy of Silver. They're like, feel free to erase the data, like, start a new file, it's totally fine. And they lent me their Game Boy to play it on, which was a Game Boy Color with an awful chartreuse color for the actual Game Boy Color, which means it is not discreet at all. I mean, it was a bright chartreuse green color. It's kind of close to lime green, but think a little bit brighter if you're not sure what color chartreuse is and don't want to look it up. So obviously, I have this thing with me, and I know that like my parents aren't going to throw it away if I tell them it belongs to a friend. They'll just tell me to give it back, which would have been sad, but fine, as long as the actual hardware doesn't get destroyed that belongs to somebody else. My dad might have tried to do that back in the day. My mom wouldn't, but my dad might have. Either way, not important to the story. I have it with me in my room that I'm, currently figuring out what I'm going to do with this thing, but because, of course, I can't be out having it willy-nilly playing it during the day, quite a few times that I played it, pretty much all the time that I got to play it, was at night after I was supposed to be asleep. And so more often than not, because it was a Game Boy Color, it doesn't have the fancy backlighting that the DS or the Game Boy Advance SP or anything like that has, means that I would be pretending to read, in which I would have a lamp that was on my, I guess not my nightstand, my headboard, and it's got one of those little bendy necks to the lamp so you can kind of turn it any which way. And I'd have it point over my shoulder. I would keep a book in my lap so I could quickly switch to it to look like I was reading, but I was actually playing through, of course, Pokemon Silver at the time. And I would quickly, slide it under my my blankets and switch to my book if one of my folks came in and they were like, hey, it's time to go to bed. I'd be like, all right, I'm just going to put this book away and then I'll turn off the light. And would do so and probably wait, like an hour or two. Sure, we'll trade phone numbers. To be honest, I want a Meryl, but I make do with my cute Snubble. You're the cutest Pokemon ever. I would beg to differ based on the Pokemon tattoo that's on my arm, because it is not of Snubble, nor is it of Meryl. I think that's all the trainers. No, there's one more, potentially. So if people are ever wondering, because I can also say this for a fact too, and this will be further agreed upon by both my parents, of like, did doing stuff like that, is that what made you into such a night owl? Of like, oh, playing video games all the time at night. No, I was always a night owl. There, like, you, even as a baby, you would go to sleep super late, but you would also, like, wake up super late as well. So that you've just always been, and that's just part of, like, some humans are morning people, some are night people, some are afternoon people. Like, on average, you're supposed to get 8 hours, but, like, 24 hours in a day, you divide that up so you get 3 different types of people where they've got that 8-hour window where they're like the relaxed window, the sleep window, and then when they're most active window. And when they're most active, in my case, is usually during night hours. If you want to go back to your history books, it's mostly about just like, oh, well, if you're living in a tribe or whatever, you need somebody essentially to stand on guard in case anything happens. So you've got some people in the morning to do that, some people in the afternoon to do it, and some people at night to do that. So yeah, it's just literally a thing that's hardwired into you. So if you're a kid out there watching this being like, that sounds like something I would do, like I'd stay up late at night, don't use it as an excuse. I will say that, like, you do still have to go to school and whatnot, but like, know that that is actually very normal, and genuinely you might just be a night owl. And unfortunately the world is not nice to night owls with things like school in particular. It's unfortunate, but it is very true. Only in, like, very recent years has society started to come around to the fact of, like, yeah, a lot of people do, like, genuinely helpful and important jobs while most of us are asleep. Or when it feels like most of us are asleep. And it's finally starting to get some respect, unfortunately, now that it's, into the 21st century by a fair bit. But either way. Run on back down to heal here, since I've got a Pokemon that's decently low level. I was hoping it would be a tiny bit closer to the next town before, but nope, it looks like not. This is the upside for routes like these, though. There's no grass that you have to go through, and once you've cleared out all the trainers, it's pretty easy to get back here quickly. Problem is, we're going to be making that trek once again once we run into Bill and Ecruteak. We're just going to have to turn right back around and go grab that Eevee. Give it a haircut, and then start working on giving that EXP. If you haven't played this before and you're wondering where the EXP share is, there's no way we could currently have it. It's much further down the line. It's like around Gym 6-ish? Somewhere around Gym 6. We'll go with that. But again, this is steps for the Golbat to improve its happiness, so there's always a plus. Which is part of the reason that I'm not using the bike. But yeah, getting on that whole Night Owl thing just reminded me of that from Hoot Hoot. That was one of the reasons I used it, because it was, since I played at night, unsurprisingly, that was one of the first Pokemon that I ran into, because they're very common at night on early routes. So I didn't see things like the Pidgeys as frequently. I still saw them, because, you know, I was doing a fair bit of level grinding. I knew that there were different Pokemon in different routes, so I knew that it wasn't a case of like, oh yeah, the first thing you find in a route, that's the only thing you can find in that route. I knew that there were other chances for things to appear. But Hoot Hoot, I believe, was the first one that I saw that I was able to catch, as in, like, I had Pokeballs to physically catch it, so I caught one and trained it up, and I had it all the way up to Noctowl into a pretty decent level. I think I actually did take it through all the way to the Elite Four with my Typhlosion and whatever else I would have had at the time. So I have used one before. I don't think I've really used one since, though. I might have used one in Pokemon Coliseum for GameCube. Maybe once. But it would have been one of my very early playthroughs. And I probably did it because of the nostalgia of like, yeah, I remember using one of these, and I know my options in Coliseum are pretty limited, so I'll use another one again. Just because of the nature of having the Fly TM, it's very... Nah, I won't switch. It is very beneficial, and I think a lot of people do. Genuinely, on like their active battle teams, everybody keeps some sort of flying type, or at the very least something with wings that can learn fly, where you're still using it in combat, even if you're not using the move fly itself in combat. Sent some to Moam. Speaking of Moam, it's time for her to call me again. We looked this up in the verses to be like... Because I said, like, in my practice file, she barely... Or she called me all the time, and for the first probably, oh, I don't know, 5 badges, she didn't really call me that much when we were doing our verses. And then she started calling me more frequently, even though I was doing the same thing. So I was like, is this just a random thing? Like, what's going on here? It seems to be something with, like, once she hits a certain value of whatever, you know, because you're sending a percentage of your money to her. Once she just hits a certain value, that just triggers it, or, like, increases the chance for it. So I guess that's what it was. Couldn't find anything concrete on that, though. Though people did consistently say, if that does annoy you, of her constantly calling you, after she's called you 5 times, if you're not picking up those packages and you're just leaving them there, she won't do it again at that point. You can just keep it. I'm going to keep my old moves. Yep, I'm going to give up on Defense Scroll. I'm pretty sure Flame Wheel is one of those moves, like with Rollout, you can up the damage on it, but it's fine. Ultimately, we won't be keeping the moves we've got here. But that is one way to stop her from consistently buying things for if you find it annoying, is just let the thing go to where she's bought 5 items for you, and then at that point she won't do it anymore. A quick save here. I know there's going to be at least one more chance to get a Sudowoodo, but I would like to ideally get this one here. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Use the squirt bottle. Yep, I'll use the squirt bottle on the tree, and that definitely sounds like a euphemism, but it's fine. Good old Sudowoodo. I don't know why it took me like so long as a kid to get past this roadblock specifically. Not because I was having difficulty defeating Sudowoodo or anything like that. Just a simple case of could not find the right way to go. I think I got stuck thinking that it was somewhere in the park, that it wasn't like a proper exit, or something got me turned around. I did get through Whitney consistently enough. Like, I mean, I struggled on doing that, but like I did know I had to beat her, I did defeat her. But like I could not figure out where to go, and I was like, I know I'd seen like a tree before somewhere, and then I did, of course, at some point I eventually found it. And once I did find it, I didn't have the squirt bottle. So I had to go back and find that, and then probably lost my way again once I did finally get the squirt bottle, because I was like, well, I know I need to find like a little tree thing somewhere, but I don't remember where that is anymore. Good, I'm glad that missed. I'm gonna make sure, as best I can, to just end the fight right here. Red health and an Ultra Ball at level 20, hopefully, should be enough. It looks like it is. I think part of the reason, too, it threw me off as a kid of, like, you have to take this north route to get to the next city, but, like, usually the routes aren't that thin. They're pretty, like, wide areas, right? So I think that partially threw me off as well, was looking for a traditional route, not just this tiny little gap here. But now we've got berry pots. We can do all the weed. Obtain the orange berries. Obtain the pecha berries. I'll be careful with those orange berries. I know that you can use those to help Miltank, but you need more than 3. I think you need like 7 or 9. You need quite a bit, so I don't want to waste those. Before we continue on there, I did talk to you, right? Yep. Okay, cool. Yep, I got it. I remember whenever Icarus was like, I didn't have Rock Smash, and I was like, I'm pretty sure I told you to get that, and I hope not, because you're going to have to go a long way back to get it. But it just turns out she hadn't taught anybody Rock Smash. That was a crisis narrative. Because even in my head, I was like, man, that's going to take you a while to get back there, because at that point, you don't have Surf, you don't have Fly, like, you're going to be doing that for a while. Just the 2 packages. Alright, cool. I feel bad for this poor guy just, like, standing out here just waiting for somebody. She probably gave him, like, a physical description of what you, the player, looks like, but he might be standing there for a couple minutes. He might be there for literal years. Just dutifully, attentively. Whatever he's getting paid, it's not enough, is what I'm saying. Get Wild back on my team. Oops. That wasn't even, like, forgetting where to go. That was just my thumb slipping off the D-pad right there. Now to the north we go. Thankfully it'll be pretty easy to remember my way around here, as this is where I started in the last episode for Versus. I ended up in at the end of the 7th gym defeating that, but I was also watching Icarus go through this point, so I've, like, seen this area recently, both myself and watching somebody else do it. We're just gonna have you fight the ones that you're not weak to and see how that goes. There's one. Can we get the other? Yes. And no static to paralyze us either. Heck yeah. Alright, let's see how another double battle goes. I will say I do appreciate that they, every now and again you'll get double battles of, like, you can make it a double battle or you can make it a single battle. Like, if you talk to them individually or approach at a certain specific spot where one can see you but the other can't see you, you just don't have to do a dual fight. I do appreciate when they do that. I do also think that it's fair to have some double battles, for sure. Like, you should at least get to experience some of them. And that's coming from somebody who's played Coliseum, where all the battles in that game are double battles, so they can be a little tedious in some regard. But I think that's one of the things that makes Coliseum interesting as well, because it's all double battles. So, like, you unsurprisingly have to treat every battle like it's going to be a 2v2, because it is going to be a 2v2. It also makes some strategies more viable, some strategies that just wouldn't have any reason to be in a 1v1, like Earthquake Protect combo. It lets some moves like Helping Hand actually get to shine at least a little bit. Definitely more than it does normally. What I'm saying is that, like many Pokemon fans that have been with the series for a while, I would like another Shadow Pokemon / Pokemon Coliseum style game for either our current console or the next one coming out. It would be nice. Because I do love Coliseum, and XD fixed a lot of the key component problems that the original game had, which, like, it was more of like a quality of life problem in many cases rather than like, wow, this is a game-breaking problem. But I feel like if they took another shot at it, they could, if they really focus on what they need to pin down for choosing what works well and what doesn't, they could have a very, very good game on their hands. Because usually when people see it, like, on the cover, because the big draw is like, oh, you get to catch your opponent's Pokemon and use them as your own. Like, I've wanted to do that when I was a kid. I always wanted to steal other people's Pokemon. And, like, that's not quite how it works. There's only certain ones you can take. It's only the Shadow Pokemon that you can take and then purify. But there's just so much more to the game story-wise. Obtain the magnet. Oh, well, thank you. I don't know if that's going to have any use on my team, but, I mean, I'll take it. But yeah, what I would not give for another Pokemon Coliseum Shadow Pokemon style game. I think it would be a lot of fun. Even just thinking about both Coliseum and XD now, I kind of get the itch to play them, even though I've played both of them pretty recently in the grand scheme of things. Oh wow, that is really scary. You put me to sleep. You know what's even scarier? When I wake up. And then you wasted your turn using Dream Eater like a dumbass. Bye! That's pretty sad. Yeah, it's a little bit sad, I guess. More so for you than for me. It's probably only sad in my regard of, like, I had to waste an awakening on your ass. But we're in Ecruteak City at long last, which means that very soon we will be turning around and going right back to go get that EV. But that's fine. I'm the one who developed the system to transfer Pokemon. It couldn't have been done by me alone. Do you know of the Hoenn region? This girl Lynette from Hoenn made the system possible, or made it easier to use. I'm willing to bet that line was not in the original as Gen 3 wasn't out, but since this is HeartGold Soul Silver, this would have been released after Gen 4, Diamond and Pearl. So, Lynette definitely would have been known to fans of the series by this point. When we get to Goldenrod, provided I don't forget. I was gonna say, you know what? Wait, go back, and then we'll go put a Pokemon in the PC because you can't take that Eevee unless you've got the space for it. But we can do that when we get to Goldenrod. And this is the point where I will, of course, forget that I did that, or said that I needed to do that, and I will not go back to Goldenrod, or I will not put something in the PC when I get to Goldenrod. And I will pay dearly for it. A nice little cut, my boy. Oh, I thought I'd already fought you. Well, I can take care of him pretty quickly. He's just a bug trainer. I do love Sandshrew. He's such an adorable little bean. He was one that I, like, definitely considered putting on my team where I was like, I don't think he's going to synergize well, but, like, I just want to put him on there because of how adorable he is. do like Sand Slash as well. That could be an interesting thing to do for like Battle Revolution, is like maybe do a mix and match team for fun where yeah, sure, we'll trade phone numbers. We might do something like that if we need like a laugh, or if we do like a second run of one of the games, then we might be like, hey, we're gonna do the same thing and trade the same Pokemon, but you have to use like their first evolution. You can't evolve it at all. So if you're using, I don't know, we'll just say if you're using Mudkip, it has to stay Mudkip. If you catch a Tailo, it has to stay as Tailo. That would be an interesting sort of run to do. Because then I'd actually have an opportunity to use Spheal and not feel quite as bad. Because I do love Spheal and it's adorable, and it's pretty decent for an Ice type. Bear in mind that your other options are Regice in Gen 3, which I don't like using legendaries, and Snorunt is the other one, which is not good. So, hope you like Spheal if you're looking for an Ice type. But that aside, it would be fun to just have, like, sort of like they do in some of the little extra modes, of just having the baby Pokemon, quote-unquote, and have that be a team. That would be kind of cool. I guess I will technically sort of have one on my team for at least one gen, because I'm, like, thinking ahead, and I'm like, well, I know for a fact there's at least one that technically will be, because it doesn't have an evolution. At least not at this point in the series, it doesn't. And I kind of hope it doesn't. I kind of hope it just stays as is, because I don't really feel like it should be adapted or changed anyway. I feel like it's perfect as it is. But I mean, like, Quillfish got one, so who knows? I did forget. I went and healed when I needed to go throw a Pokemon in the box. So, like, if that can get one and get Overquill, then really anything's possible, right? But I'm really hoping they just leave that one as a standalone. There we go. You can hang out in there with Togepi and Sudowoodo, who I already forgot was in there. And now we can get our next teammate. Would you do something for me and take this Eevee? It came over when I was adjusting the Nintendo Wi-Fi connection. Someone has to take care of it, but I don't like being outside. How fitting, we were talking about that earlier. But yes, I will take good care of the V. No, I'm not going to give a nickname to Eevee. Evolved into 7 different kinds of Pokemon, yep. Vaporeon, Jolteon, Flareon, Umbreon, Espeon, Glaceon, Leafeon at this point. There is no Sylveon at this point, bear that in mind. This is, again, around Gen 4. Let's take a look. What do you got for nature? Docile nature and quick to flee. Well, it has Runaway, so I guess that makes sense. I think quick to flee is probably high for speed. That's probably its highest IV is speed. That would be my guess, but I can't say that for absolute sure. Let me very quickly add that as well. Alright, well, I'll just put a 2 after that. I don't know why it was being a butt about that, but that's fine. Ooh, that's making a decision with the, oh, it's resizing that. Could we... There we go. There we go. Kinda love it when it, like, tries to lock in place like that, and you're like, I don't want you to do what you're trying to do. I'm just trying to, like, play the... Move this around like it's totally free. Don't snap into place. Wish there was an option to just turn that whole feature off of, like, don't snap into place. Just let it roam freely. And then there are other times where I'm like, yes, I do want this to snap into place. I'm the younger and less expensive of the two Haircut brothers. I'll spruce up your Pokemon for $300. Grooming gives a better look. Your Pokemon will become friendlier and more beautiful. Let's do it. But again, this time, We're gonna let Eevee get the opportunity. Eevee looks a little happier. Good. The other thing we're gonna do... That's not what I meant to do. I meant to switch Golbat's item and give it to Eevee. Because while they both need it, Eevee's gonna need it more since we just got it. So we'll give that to him. I guess we could take a look at the Golbat and see if it's got any increase in friendship while we're here. I doubt it's probably changed on that marker, but it could be possible. It did help defeat a gym leader. It has been walking around a fair bit with the Soothe Bell. I think I talked to her after I did the haircut, but maybe not, so we'll see. That means I need to quickly swap your positions. There we go. Let's take a look. Get the feeling that it really trusts you. Ooh, that is actually a very good sign. That's a sign that I think it is actually capable of evolving at this point, or it's getting very close. I'm actually going to check that. Ow. I'm going to mute so you don't have to hear all the button clicking, and then we'll have a little peek. Okay, here it is. I'm reading off of SciPokes.com, and they tend to get their information pretty correct, but if it's wrong, then I do apologize. I'm just going to read it directly here. In HeartGold and Soul Silver, there's a woman in Goldenrod City, the one we just talked to, who can be found just north of the bike shop on the east side of town. She'll give you a general idea of how happy your Pokemon is, but she won't tell you your Pokemon's exact happiness quota. Here are the things that she says. If it's from 0 to 49, it says, it doesn't seem to like you at all. It looks mean. Wow, that's harsh. That's probably unfortunate what my Eevee is at, because again, we just got it. If it is between 50 and 99, it says you should treat it better. It's not used to you. I'm not sure that means that you're treating it poorly if it's not used to you. Like, there are plenty of people that I'm not used to that have never treated me poorly, but alright. It's quite cute is 100 to 149. It's friendly towards you, it looks sort of happy, is 150 to 199. I get the feeling that it really trusts you is 200 to 249, which is the one that we got. And then it looks really happy, it must love you a lot, is 250 to 255. Golbat will evolve into Crobat once its happiness is at 220, and we're currently somewhere between 200 to 249. So that means that it, yes, is very close to evolving. It could do that upon any level up at this point. So yeah, definitely a good choice in moving the Soothe Bell over, as we are nearly there with Crobat. And of course, now that we're having to run back through all this, we're getting some good steps in here as well. And there's a pretty good chance, actually, that Golbat's going to be the one that's carrying the team in this upcoming gym. As it's going to have that advantage with Bite, for sure. Screen I was looking at. Who's? Oh. Sorry, I got distracted. Somebody was in a group chat, like, on the voice call all by themselves. I'm like, what are they doing? It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. I was very confused. But, I still don't know why they're in there. But either way, like, I thought they were going on a camping trip with a friend. Like, I was in the call with them earlier this morning/afternoon, so I'm like, what are y'all... I thought y'all left. What are you doing in that voice call by yourself? I'm very confused. Maybe if he's still there when we're done streaming, I'll go poke him and be like, hey, what you doing there, bud? Okay, did my mom call at all while I was doing any of that? Is there going to be a... Nope, there's no dude in here. I don't think there's much that we need to do prior to going to the gym here. I think the only thing required is just going up here. There is going to be a rival battle, so do bear that in mind. Who do I want to... Oh, see, this is going to be the tough... Well, I mean, this Eevee isn't going to be the final one that I keep. Because you're in that weird spot of, like, you want Eevee to get levels, but, like, also you just want it to immediately evolve as fast as you possibly could get it to do so. Do I still have that list for the happiness things here? It might actually give me the full... Yeah, here we go. Affecting happiness positively. I'm just going to skip the little thing here, but it's, you know... let's see. I'll read part of it. Giving your Pokemon a Soothe Bell will increase the rate at which their happiness rises by 50%. Pokemon come with a Luxury Ball will double the regular points when you level up Walk or use them in an important battle. These are the methods of affecting happiness in a positive way. Walk 256 steps with a Pokemon in your active party, +1 for all happiness values. Give the Pokemon vitamins, so HP up, Carbos, Iron, Protein, Calcium, Zinc, and PP up. Usage in important battles, gym leaders, elites, and the champion. Level up the Pokemon. The Haircut Brothers and Goldenrod City can raise your happiness between 1 and 10 depending on your Pokemon's reaction to after the haircut. The negative values are if your Pokemon faints in battle, if you use any of the herbs and powders, which are the Energy Powder, Heal Powder, Energy Root, or Revival Herb, and trading your Pokemon will reset its happiness to its base value, so be warned. So that's what it is. So, like, leveling it up does give some happiness, but, like, also if you level it up slower, quote-unquote, like, let's say you just walked around until it was at max happiness, bumped it from level 5 to level 6 and it evolved, it's going to start getting the base stats at level 5 rather than, we'll say, 30, for an example. And I definitely had some trouble leveling up Eevee, where I was actually able to use it viably when I was training it. It wasn't until it got Bite, and it was level 29, I think, when it finally got that. Other than that, all it got was Quick Attack and Sand Attack, I think were the only things that I kept. So if you're training that, just bear that in mind. It might be a little bit, might be a little tough. I do want to give it some levels, though, because while I do want it to evolve at a low level and get those points, I also don't want it to be, like, drastically behind everything, either. So, you know. Thanks for that curse. Now it's time to send you into the next afterlife. If anybody would know that Ghastly does not have very good defense, it would be me, as somebody who has a Gengar on their team in Fire Red Leaf Green. That's not even a joke. That's literally like, I have the experience of raising one of these. I know where its weaknesses are. If there's a Pokemon that you're bad at fighting, the best way to learn what its weaknesses are is to train one and use it yourself. That will be the best way to know, because then you'll know exactly what it is weak to. Both type-wise, both whether it's defense or special defense, any flaws that are very present, you will notice them extremely quickly through using them yourself. Because while Gengar is very fast and a very good special sweeper, its defenses leave a little bit to be desired, I think is the nice way to say it. Speaking of leaving a lot to be desired, how in the world did I even manage to do that? There we go. Managed to get the aux cable for this wrapped around my foot. I'm not sure how I managed to do that, but I did it, so there you go. It does say usage in important battle. I do wonder if the rival battles count towards that. I don't know. Like, it's not listed here. It's only the ones that I just told you out loud, so I don't know. I feel like it would qualify, but who knows. What I also don't know is if this Crocodile's got Ice Fang yet or not, and unfortunately that looks to be a yes, it does. Well, I'm not going to let my Pokemon that could be evolving pretty soon here get knocked out and lose some friendship points. I'm going to stop that from happening. Yep, I'm keeping my eye on it. We're just going to keep healing through this. Of course, I know what's going to happen here in a second, and I'm going to be very sad that it's going to happen. You might be thinking, you're going to get frozen? That's not what I'm thinking is going to happen. That could be one possibility, but I don't think. That's what I think is going to happen, a critical hit. I was right, too. Should have saved before I started that fight. Alright, I got Eevee up a couple levels. Would you like to switch Pokemon? Yes. This is not going to affect the happiness of Zubat, Golbat. I should just say Golbat at this point. But I do want to bring it back. You can bring Pokemon back with a revive, obviously, but doing that is not going to increase their happiness. Which is a bit of a shame. I wish it did, at least for, like, using the revives. For taking it to a center, that's fair enough. Because if that increased happiness, you just keep doing it over and over again. But I do wish reviving it, like, in mid-battle. Because that's kind of a way of being like, hey, I'm willing to bring you back because I think you genuinely do have a shot at winning this. It's not going to get enough for a level there, but that's fine. It's probably at least a tiny bit mad with me since I just let it die, unfortunately. You'd never be able to catch a legendary... I mean, at this point in the game, yes, I agree with you. I would not be able to catch a legendary Pokemon. How are you? I'm doing great. I was trying to get a Pokemon to love me so much that it evolved, and then I let it die in battle because of a critical hit that I predicted was going to happen, and sure enough it did. Wild Coughing appeared. That's nice. We're just going to quickly switch over here. Keep going for that stab bonus. Yeah, we'll go for Astonish now. The other nice edge that Wing Attack has over Bite, the stab bonus aside, just more PP. Always a nice reason to focus on using that one. Know the power of fire better than anyone. Yep, you sure do. Unfortunately for you, I also know fire and also its weaknesses, as I have picked the fire starter for not only this, but I also did it for Fire Red. And without spoiling too much about where I think Gen 3 will be going when we get to Gen 3 Versus, I'm willing to bet that there's a better than even chance that the fire starter will still be available for me to choose after Icarus makes her choice. I am about 95% sure what she will choose for her starter. The only other 5% is just like, she might say, hey, I want to switch it up and do something different, but I don't think that's the case. I think she's going to pick the same one that she always does. The upside is, Gen 3 doesn't really have a bad choice for starter. Like, they're all pretty solid. Like, in Gen 2, it's obvious, I hate to say it for any Chikorita fans, it's pretty obvious it's the Chikorita line. For Gen 1, I know people like to poke fun at Bulbasaur being the weakest of the three. I actually think Bulbasaur is, like, pretty viable. I think it works poorly against the rival, unfortunately, because of the rival just having a flying type. The nature of that's going to make it a little bit harder to recover. But I don't think it's a bad pick by any means. I do think Chikorita is unfortunately a bad pick, but I don't think there's any in Gen 3 that are a bad pick. Gen 4, I'd have to give one of them another attempt. There was somebody that let me borrow Gen 4 while I was on a flight. They're like, yeah, as long as you don't save over the game, you can, like, you know, try it out for yourself and see if you're interested. And the starter I picked just was not cutting it, but I think it also might have been, like, I was still decently new to the series, and I was very much the type to only raise special sweepers and not anything else. Which means that it was entirely possible that I was just using that Pokemon completely incorrectly. But it's also possible that I got a particularly bad one with, like, bad EVs. It could have just been a bad run. Like, there's some luck involved in that for sure. So it might have just been a particularly unlucky one. So I'd have to give one of those three another fair shake. But I can say decently confidently about the other two that they're both pretty good choices. When we get around to Gen 4, I'll have choice of first pick. There's one that I'm not picking for sure, but that's because between Fire, Water, and Grass, there's either a Fire or Water or Grass that I want on my team that's not the starter, so why would I double down on that type? So that narrows it down to 2. Found an antidote. I also found another Fire Breather. Don't try this at home. Yeah, probably not. That's why you're trying it not at your house, right? Unless this was your house. And that's why it burned down. Hopefully that's not the case. This is one of those instances of, like, yes, technically I should be switching out for Quilava, but, you know, fire versus fire, we would be here for a while, so... kind of why I'm foregoing that opportunity for the time being. Plus, like I said, I know Golbat's going to be the one carrying in the gym, so likely what will happen will be once we get past the gym that Quilava will be out in front for quite a while. I mean, it'll technically be Eevee, but I'll be switching in for Quilava. And thankfully it was worth coming over here because we get an HP up. Which I'm going to take and immediately throw on Eevee. Raise up that happiness. I'm trying to think if there's any other Pokemon that I would have planned for my team or that I would consider for my team that are happiness-based evolutions in the future. The answer is yes. I could think of at least one for sure. I was trying to think if there were any other ones, like, directly off the top of my head. But to be fair, I don't remember them all. Like, truthfully, I do not remember them all. So, that's probably also part of it. He took notice of your presence. I mean, yeah, he would have slammed right into me had he not noticed me. I don't think there's any items down there we can get without strength, but even if we could, it's not that big a deal. I do need to come back here in my other file, maybe take a little poke around, but for now I'm not worried about it. That's pretty much all we need to do to access the gym here, thankfully. It's pretty easy. It was like a bird and a dragon. Was it perhaps what we like to know in the fandom as a sparkle butt, also known as Ho-Oh? I don't think there's anything in either. I want to say there's like a fisherman in one of these, but... Oh, yeah, you get this, okay. The dowsing machine, that's nice. I probably won't use that. Items in the burn tab. Oh man, don't tempt me to go back there. Like, just don't do it, man. I just want to go heal and take on the gym. I'm hoping by having Golbat participate in the gym leader fight, if it gets a level, that will be enough for it to have me be redeemed in its eyes and evolve into Crobat. We'll see what happens, I guess. Let's give it a shot. Welcome to gym number 4, the Ghost Gym. Unsurprisingly, as it is a Ghost Gym, you'll be fighting a lot of Ghastly in here. If you know your Gen 1, you know that if you would like a Ghost type in Gen 1, you'll be getting Ghastly. That's literally your only option. You'll be getting Ghastly. At this point in the generations with Gen 2, I think you would also have the option for Misdreavus, which would not be able to evolve at that point in time. It would not be Mismagius, it would just be Misdreavus. And I think, unfortunately, that might be your only choice for Gen 2. There might be one other that I'm forgetting, but I think it's just those. Alright, we'll go ahead and fight you. Yeah, we'll switch in. These Ghastly are not going to be super great for experience solely based on the fact that they're not evolved. I will say if I get cursed by a second one, I'll probably kill it and then switch into something weaker. Which, yep, that's looking like what it's going to do. Because I can definitely just knock him out in one hit, but I do want Eevee to get some of that experience. Yeah, we're going to switch. I'm not gonna send out my little Sandshrew. I can't sacrifice him. He's too adorable. So we'll sacrifice Geodude instead. It's a lot less adorable. Plus, who knows? It might waste its turn going with Curse. Oh, nope, it didn't actually. Can it not do anything else? Now I'm curious. Oh, there we go. I was going to leave my Geodude out on the field and just see what else it could do, but it finally decided to do an actual attack there. I will say, in its defense, it would be a little bit harder to tackle a normal type, as Ghost type moves don't work on normal types. If you watched Icarus fighting this gym in the last episode, you would get to see that all too well when she took 9 minutes to beat the gym leader, because the gym leader couldn't damage her and she couldn't damage the gym leader. We actually thought she had soft-locked the game for a little bit there, but then I remembered struggle as a thing, so it was just a case of one side had to burn through all their PP until struggle came up, which was the gym leader, which makes sense, as moves like Mean Look and Shadow Ball have less PP than, say, Growl and Defense Curl and, you know, stuff we had early on in the EVs. But it was still funny. Once we realized that there was a solution. At the time, it was like, oh crap, that might actually be really bad. Another Ghastly, yep, go ahead and switch them on out. She had, what, 5, I guess? She had at least 4. Yep, she had 5. Good news is I think we're only going to take that first hit of the curse. I don't think we take the second hit of damage since this is the end of the fight. Yep, it just ends right there. Perfect. Alright, Trainer 2. I think there's like 4 or 5. This gym has a lot of trainers in it for being the first half of the gyms. But I guess that's fair given the kind of glass cannon nature of the Ghastly line. But by all means, use Mean Look. That's an easy fix for me. Mantra will at least give more experience. Yeah, that's substantially more. That was like over double. Yep, switching again. Yeah, but by all means, keep doing it, my man. Keep doing it. Or my woman, I guess. Both for the trainer and the haunter in question. I'll have to go up and around you after, or sorry, down and around you after this one. Lived together for a long time. So, well, probably intentionally creepy, but like kind of falls in that nothing is scarier of like, they've lived together for a long time, as in like at one point this was a Pokemon that was alive and then it died and came back and they're still living together. Kind of cute, but in a very creepy way. I had to explain to somebody what the trope nothing is scarier was, which is like, sometimes like a dark spooky hallway is just that, like there's nothing in it or anything. But the more impressive of your imagination, or the more impressive that your imagination is in terms of being able to create creepy stuff, the creepier that area that genuinely doesn't have anything creepy about it will be to you. Do I want to get rid of anything for Growl? I mean, Helping Hand, yeah, I don't really need that. Not that Growl will be lasting for much longer than that, but, you know. Learn Air Cutter. That is tempting, but Air Cutter's got one big problem on it that I don't like, and that's that it's not 100% accurate. You'd think, oh, 95%, like, that's basically the same thing for a high crit rate. But, like, if it's not 100%, I'm usually not interested in it, because I know my luck. So we'll pass on that. If I decide to do it on, like, my actual Crobat, no big deal. And even if I don't, I could come back for it later. So, it's not the end of the world. I think this is the final gym trainer. I'm pretty sure? We'll find out either way. But first, let's switch in here. Back to Golbat. The good news is, if there is one more trainer after that, between this trainer, the next trainer, and the gym leader, we'll probably get Golbat up to 28, and that might be enough, combined with the fighting in an important battle, to have it evolve. So it is worth noting that now that we are back in, or now that we are in an area, I guess back in works, because on our other file we are, for at least for doing the B-sides, now that we are in an area where we can go back and get that happiness leveled up daily through the haircut, I probably will do that off screen. It would just be me running back, getting that, and then going back to where I was. I probably won't do it every single day, because I just won't have the time. But maybe I will. We'll see. I think we're going to switch in and finish this fight out with Balava here. if I get put in a bad spot where I lose all my other sacrificial ones. I feel like Quilava, even though it doesn't have the super effective move, can still hold his own, like, pretty well here. Because he's got a physical fire move. He's decently strong in the physical department, especially compared to their physical defense. I wouldn't be too terribly worried. Well, I didn't mean to fall there, but I did, so I guess we'll go back and heal. Hi, Joey. I'm going to ignore that call. I don't have to hear the ringing sound, but I apologize if you do. If I'm, like, in a spot where I can't leave an area or, like, go through a door or something like that to make the call go away, I'll just, like, turn and talk to my Pokemon, because doing that also stops the call. So, if you don't want to answer somebody calling you, that is one option you have. Really quickly, how many potions do I have left? 1. Should probably go get a few more, just in case. I don't need to buy a ton or anything, but just in case I have Golbat get knocked down to low health, but I really want to keep it in the fight. Obtain this. Oh, well, there we go. I'm curious, how many was that? Was it just the 1? Yeah, it was just the 1. Wow, thanks, Mom. Really looking out for me there. Couldn't have gone to the Pokemon equivalent of Costco and bought those in bulk. That should be plenty. Nope, we're good. Well, mostly good. I just had a giant hair fall into my eye. Alright, now we will see. Can we move on to the gym leader itself, or do we have a penultimate fight before then? Yes, we do. We have a penultimate fight. The penultimate fight is me staying on the road without falling off. Alright, there we go. Excellent. I'm going to learn from my mistake with my rival and actually save. That's not what I meant to hit, but I guess we can look at the trainer card real quick. I believe that person is me. Well, you know, aim high, but don't aim for the impossible. But I mean, if he wants to fly high, that's fine. Whenever he falls, it just means he'll crash a lot harder. Yeah, really, of all the Pokemon on his team, the only one that you really got to be worried about is, unsurprisingly, his ace, which is a Gengar. Which also is probably not very surprising. Because again, this is a line of special sweepers. They will be very fast, and if they're hitting you with a special attack, they will hit pretty hard. So that you'll have to watch out for. I will switch in. I'm going to take a tactical loss here with Geodude, in the hopes that you don't do an attack and just, like, waste your turn on doing something like that. Perfect. Eat away, my dude. Eat away. And it's times like these, I'm glad that Bite is a physical move, because it means that that is frail enough to just knock straight down. Alright, Gengar. Since this is his ace, this is admittedly another one I'm going to go ahead and pull out a sacrificial lamb here. It's just a waste of a turn, so when I switch in, I'm not immediately taking a Shadow Ball or a Hypnosis or whatever on Golbat, that it can just go in. And it can do heavy damage with Bite, potentially get a kill. No, it can't even go first. Yikes. I'd say this gives a chance for a flinch, but a critical hit works too. Very well done. We grew to 17. Pretty good stat-wise. I don't know if those are great IVs or anything, but like, there's no stat that I'm looking at here that's like, wow, that is really far behind everything else. So I'm gonna say no on switching for this one, because I'm gonna try to get it up to 28 with just this one particular Pokemon. Let Golbat just get the full EXP from this to see if it's enough. It probably won't be, but we'll see. We've got more discipline than anybody else. And nothing says discipline like spamming a potion. He hadn't used one yet, so I knew he was going to. Yep, and another. Because it was so much fun the first time, we'll do it again. There we go. That'll take him out. I don't think he has it. I think they only get 2, like, potions or super potions or hyper potions, whatever, a piece. Ooh, we did get to 28. Very nice. That was probably really close, though. Yeah, that was. If I had split that EXP between the two, I wouldn't have gotten to 28. I didn't quite get there on getting its happiness up. I don't think necessarily having it faint that one time was the deciding factor. Like, you lose some points, but it's not like it resets it to 0 or anything, so it's alright. We can now use Surf outside of battle. We also get the TM for Shadow Ball, which is a very, very good move. I think that's consistently considered one of the better Ghost moves. And now I'm going to take my Pokemon back for a well-earned heal at the center. We will remember to have Quilava be doing the actual attacking in this next couple areas, because while I do want to get the Happiness Evolution for Golbat, there are limits to how far ahead I want them to get, and Golbat's getting a little bit far ahead there. But with that, I think we're going to call it a stream here, since we've been doing this for about 2.5 hours. I feel like, roughly, for doing the B-sides like this, I feel like 2 gyms is a pretty reasonable pace for the time being. So we'll probably be doing gyms 5 and 6 next episode, and then maybe 7 and 8. It'll kind of vary, because gyms 5 and 6 are like pretty back-to-back, because you have to do something to get into gym 6. They don't tell you it's gym 6, but it is. So like you go to gym 5, and you go to the town where it is, you get the stuff for it, and you're like, well, I'll beat the gym while I'm here. So you beat gym 5, and then you come back with what you need, and then you just immediately go straight into gym 6. So we'll see. For now, thank you all for watching. I hope to see you more for... We'll probably be doing more of the B-sides, i.e. this, before going back into HeartGold, Soul Silver if I have time this week. So expect to potentially see another episode of this being streamed. Like with the actual verses, this will be going up on my archive page, which is in the link below. So if you want to see episode 1 of that, or any of the Pokemon verses, or season 1 of verses, you can check those all out in their playlists as necessary. The B-sides will be in the playlist labeled Pokemon games. It's got like my XD Gale of Darkness playthroughs, my Coliseum playthroughs. They're more of like the random ones, but they are put in the proper order for that list, so you can check them out there. For now, though, thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Later.